Hey, Brianna, how you doing?
Hey Sean, how's it going, man?
Good. I'd like to welcome everybody to my new LinkedIn Live. It's called Service to Sales Vets Helping Vets. This is my second week. I'd like to thank my company Shift Group for sponsoring this. You can tell it's a little bit more professional this week with some backgrounds and some. We just got Streamyard going actually, so it's looking pretty good. So let's just start this off. Tell us a little bit, about yourself, how you went from, joining the Navy to, serving in the Navy and doing a good job there, and then getting out and becoming, a successful sales rep.
Yeah, man. So I have a pretty simple, pretty straightforward story. You guys can see my name. I'm Brianna. I served in the Navy from 2012 to 2020. Prior to being in the Navy, I was just a high school kid. Both my parents served, my grandparents served, so it was kind of a family legacy, and I just followed along in the footsteps. And I picked the Navy because my mom joined. That was the one. That was the branch that she picked. Um, During my time in the Navy, there's really no sales roles, in the military. So I chose to be a corpsman. I liked helping people, liked helping, fix people who might have been sick, maybe had some injuries and things like that. Took a lot of those skills from like listening and being able to hear and diagnose right into the sales world. So after I joined, I spent some time, toured, did a couple deployments, got out, and realized I had no idea what I wanted to do. But I knew that I knew how to talk to people. I got to rely on some of that diversity that I had experienced from being in the military, and I allowed it to kind of just push me to the sales environment. Started selling at AT&T, went from part-time to store manager inside of like 3 years, and yeah, I mean the rest is history ever since then. Right now, what I do with Verizon, I'm an account manager in the B2B space, selling the small medium business, and it's pretty awesome.
So I got a message when I posted this show from Daniel Berger.
Yeah.
How'd you run across him?
So a couple of weeks ago, I made a post about wanting a mentor because right now I don't really have one or didn't have one with Verizon, and I really wanted to make sure that I had a refined skill set. I wanted someone to just get in my face, say, "Hey, this is what you're doing wrong. This is what you got to fix. You want to be better at your job. Take this advice and don't take it as just someone coming to be mean." Um, so everyone was rogering up in the comments, and it was awesome because first off, I got a lot of great advice, met a lot of awesome people, but Dan actually reached out to me directly and had a really good rapport with me. He actually is kind of close nearby physically, and he actually was on the rugby team my husband used to play on. So kind of cool meeting with him. He has an absolutely fantastic program, Closed Loop University, Winter Circle, and Jumpstart. Could not recommend it more highly. Fantastic guy. But yeah, that's how I met him, and he's truly helped revamp my whole sales skill set for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I got some mutual friends with him that he used to work with at another company, but Kyle Shannon. I don't know if you follow him or not,
Yeah,
but
I know
yeah,
Kyle.
yeah. So when you did how many years as a medic?
So eight total years.
Oh, okay, you did 8. I thought for some reason I thought you did one tour. How many enlistments did you do? 2.
So technically two, yeah.
Okay. And when did what year? So you did 8. What year did you decide you were gonna get out of the Navy and transition to something different?
Um, After I had my first daughter, that
Yeah.
was kind of when I decided, her dad's still in. I don't need to stay in. She had extremely high level special needs, and I was like, one of us has to be devoted to her. I'll do it. That's my job. So I got out on the heels of her being born, and ever since then, I stayed out.
Okay. So the reason I ask is like when you started to do your transition, I'm sure the Navy's like the Army. They have all this help that they give you. What
Oh yeah.
career do they try to steer you towards? Like some type of medical career?
Yeah, so I took like a bunch of aptitude tests, and like this is not a brag, but I score high enough in all of them that they were like, you could literally just do whatever you want, like just pick something. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, I don't really have a direction. I don't know what I want to do. So they were like, well, just try something, do something. So I did what probably, thousands of people are doing right now. I just threw out as many applications as I could to anywhere. I was like, I just want a job. So I just want to do something. Um,
Yeah.
and sales is what picked me up. AT&T grabbed me first. And then after that, I mean, I really didn't have much deviation from that track. Once I realized, oh, I'm really good at selling. I enjoy talking to people. It was a wrap.
So yeah, because like that's one of the reasons why I joined Shift Group to help JR. Is like
Yeah,
there's just not a lot of people out there that are pushing vets into tech sales, farm sales, pharmaceutical sales, manufacturing sales, like all those type of sales jobs are pretty good. You can make a pretty good career as you found out in the past couple of years. And
for
there's just
sure.
not a lot of people pushing anybody towards that. So like that's why I'm trying to be an advocate of just letting people know like it's a really good career. You can make a lot of money and then take the skills that you learn from the military and apply them
Yeah.
in your sales job, and you're going to be fine. So like
I
just to
think it's super
piggyback off
lucrative over
that,
here. Yeah.
what skills do you think you learned in the Navy that apply to your you being a top seller over there at Verizon?
Yeah. So there's a lot of skills that I would say cross over. The first of all of them is kind of the one that you might not think of first, but it's discipline. 100%. Showing up to a sales job and getting so many no's, so many rejections, you have to stay disciplined. You have to stay on course. You cannot deviate from whatever it is that you've set as your goal for the day, week, month, a year. So having a set of discipline and making sure that you are motivated when it doesn't feel like there is any real motivation. It's one of the biggest things that I took away from being in the military is I know how to generate a sense of motivation where I don't always have it. It's sometimes just completely fake, but I'm like, gotta get it done. Find it, muster it up. So that's a
So
big one.
do you find that do you have any coworkers that are vets?
I don't, not in my immediate team. I have one
Okay.
who's a cop, so he's kind of close, but
So in your first sales job, how much training did you get prior to actually just being kind of let off on your own to you know
oh,
to
I
go sell
mean,
stuff?
I had like a
Nothing.
week and a half,
All right.
if
So
even.
like, did you find like this? Like for me, it's like just identifying a mission, which was like for me, it was at a SaaS company to book meetings. That was
Mhm,
my mission, and I just got super hyper focused on it, and
mhm,
I just outworked everybody. If you
yeah.
ask a lot of my peers, they're like, "Hey, is Sean a great salesman?" I don't know. He just outworked everybody. Is that how do you feel about did you go in there? Do you think you like actually outworked everybody, or you just kind of what do you think made you good?
I think the next biggest thing that would what I would say would maybe good kind of goes back to your earlier question of what crosses over, right? As far as skills
Yeah,
go. Being in the medical field, I had to learn how to listen. I would get people coming in all the time, this hurts, I have this pain, you know, can you tell me what's going on? Unless I'm listening, I really couldn't know what was going on. So I had to make sure that I focused in. My active listening skills grew dramatically. A very tremendous amount of active listening in sales. And without having any training or having to do any kind of extra work, I learned very quickly just listen, just diagnose, take care, right? Take pride in what you do, take pride in what you're working with. And the mission ends up being the same as it was when I was in the medical field. Help this person. Once you get past the selling aspect, all it boils down to is help this person. And when they get help, I mean, they're eating out of the palm of your hand at that point.
so what are some of the issues that you had like when you went from being in the Navy and then now you're working in the civilian world? Like what kind of issues did you have not like personal issues, but I'm talking about at
Of course.
work, like that, what's the difference and then how'd you deal with those? Because I dealt my first couple jobs, I had a lot of it
Yeah.
was like more personal interpersonal skills issue type stuff that
Yeah.
they didn't like the way I was direct and all this stuff. So like, did you run into any of that?
Yeah. I mean, Sean, you probably know better than most. There is a very different communication style in the military and being a civilian. Like it is a totally different world. So I often was chastised for being too gruff, too direct, too blunt, right? I'm a straight to the point kind of person. I don't like to beat around the bush, and it showed. I had to learn very quickly. These are regular people. Like, they don't take orders. They don't have to. They're not, standing in formation every day. Calm down. Remind yourself that they're a person who wants to be spoken to a little bit differently than how you've gotten used to being spoken to. So that was a big one for sure.
And then, what about your leadership? Like, for me, I like a leader that's like super direct. They're not talking around circles.
Yeah.
Just tell me what you want. And for me, it's like we call it commander's intent in the Army. Like, give me your
Yeah.
intent, give me left and right limits, and then just get out of my way, and I'll stay
Yeah.
within your left and right limits, and I'll figure out how to get to the end state using your intent. That's kind of military jargon,
Oh,
but
yeah.
how do you deal with like the leadership aspect of it, going from the Navy where it's more of the leadership. Everybody kind of gets trained. There's processes to leadership. Leadership's like
Mhm.
it's actually a core competency of the
Right.
U.S. military. So how do you deal with that different type of leadership on the outside? In Verizon and AT&T.
That's honestly a really good question. The first thing that I would say when I got into sales, I didn't realize how fast and loose it kind of is. There is very little actual structure to most of what you're doing. I think sometimes we kind of get lost in the weeds and we forget that sales is literally just talking to people until they say yes to something. And with my leadership in the past, it was kind of just, I need you to hit this goal. I need you to get this amount of revenue. I need you to get this amount of things done. But then there was no actionable plan behind it. So, like you said, left and right limits, I just didn't even have any limits. They just said, here's the goal, go ahead. Um, so what I had to learn how to do was, first off, just navigate. I had to learn how to talk. I had to learn how to speak the language. And then once I learned that, I then started doing what you probably would have done, and anyone else in the military will do. We want to see. I need data points. I need to know, what am I looking for. So I asked my leadership, what KPIs am I being measured against? What are the things that I need to do to prove to you that I'm doing my job? And then once that conversation started happening, it's kind of like an upward training situation. I had to train my leaders how to speak a little bit more. I need to know what you want from me. And I need you to know that I plan on giving you that, but I have to have a way to, quantify that for you. So
Yeah,
it was a big learning curve, but once you get through it and just learn how to talk, and learn how to listen, like, what do you need? Tell me what you need and what are you measuring me against? Made it a lot easier.
I think like a lot. I was talking to a friend. She didn't serve or anything, but she works for a SaaS company, and she was kind of telling me about her quarterly counselings. I don't know what they call them, but quarterly counseling is what we call them in the Army.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know if you know my background. I did 22 years. I retired as an E9. I've done a lot of counseling, like a lot.
Yeah.
So um, I found that in the civilian world, they'll tell you that you got to do X, do Y, fix X, and fix Y. But like you said, there's no like how to get from point A to point B. So
Yeah.
like, that's what kind of she was telling me. She's like, hey, they need to, I need to fix this and that, but they didn't tell me like what's the plan. So like,
Right.
I used to counsel people. I'd be like, hey, you're short, on this, and this.
Mhm.
Let's come up with a plan together on how you're going to fix that. Let's
Yeah.
agree on it. Like, look each other in the eye right now, like professionals, agree
Yeah.
on it, and then when you're done, you go execute, and then I'll see you next. Obviously you're talking to them every day, but I'm saying we'll sit down next quarter, and then we'll actually measure,
Right.
if you hit those or not.
We'll
And I
review
don't
it.
see a
Yeah.
lot of that in the civilian world. And I think that's like a thing that when I talk to people that want to hire vets is like, hey, they're going to bring this aspect of leadership
Yeah.
that you it's not hard. It's easy to teach, but it's just like a way of life for most vets. They're going to bring
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That's a skill they're just going to bring. So once they learn how to actually do the job that you're paying them to do, you can easily just shift them into a leadership role without having to train them on how to be a leader. Because what
You're
I
absolutely
found out,
right.
especially in sales, people get promoted to leadership positions off of how good they were at hitting,
Their
quota.
number. Yeah.
But that has nothing to do with your leadership. So like,
Yeah.
I was just wondering, like, if you had anything to explain or like share about what I just talked about on that.
You've definitely hit a couple of major pain points for me. I have seen it firsthand. I've been in leadership in sales, been in leadership in the military, and the disparity is huge. To kind of go back to your quarterly review thing, I think the civilian side is kind of more focused on trial and error, where the military has a precedent. We have an SOP for anything. If it's something as simple as just brushing your teeth, there's a go by for that. There's a manual somewhere that you can find these exact instructions. When it comes to the civilian sector, though, that really doesn't exist. It almost feels like everything's just winging it, right? Um, and so when we come to those reviews, like you said, there's really no action plan. It's just, I need you to do better. I hope you can figure out how. In the military, we're kind of given one mission, and the mission is always to be completed, period. The civilian sector is a little bit more lenient, and I definitely found that I've had to learn how to fail more in sales than I've ever in my past. I've had to learn how to fail forward, fail often, and fail gracefully, accepting that maybe there just isn't something in place. Maybe there's just not a structure in place. I might be building that framework myself right now. So that process is really, really interesting and kind of hard to get a hold of. But once you start realizing, like, they're not judging you for your failures. They're not mad at you. You haven't failed the mission. You're not going to get kicked out. You just got to do it again and do it better. Do it different. Hugely different sense of reality there. And to your second point, there are often times where you've got a great seller who is just, I mean, they're knocking it out of the park. You're like, I'm going to put this person into a leadership position because surely they can replicate themselves. That is not always the case. It is not always the case at all. Sometimes a great seller is great naturally. They don't even know why they're good. And when they don't know why they're good, they can't pass that information along. They don't have a way to say, hey, these are the things that I'm doing and why, right? A lot of what I do in sales is I look, I observe, and I say, okay, why does that work? Can I put that into play for myself? But why does it work, and how will it work for me? We don't always see that in newer and young leaders coming up. So yeah, it's definitely a hardship that we can work on.
Did you see? So Kevin says sales and sales management are different, very different animals.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to touch on that a little bit. So for me, I saw a post from a veteran advocate yesterday, and I apologize, I can't remember her name, but she puts out good content. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, vets expect to like get in an organization and climb this like linear ladder because that's how, like when I'm in the Army, I'm an E4. I want to be a fire team leader in the infantry. So that's my next step. Then I want to be a squad leader. Then I want to be a platoon sergeant. Then I want to be a first sergeant. Then I want to be a sergeant major. And then I want to be a sergeant major of a brigade. Then I want to be a sergeant major of a division. Right. So when I first got into SaaS sales, like I just couldn't like let my mind just let me be an individual contributor. Right. I was like, how do I get promoted? How do I get promoted? And like, to be honest with you, like the guys that were above me weren't even making as much as me because, I was doing so well that my compensation, my commission was like getting me above their pay. So like, why do I even need to get promoted? Because it's like this earning to be a leader, right?
Yeah.
So like, that's something that you have to watch out for when you transition. Did you notice yourself doing that too? Always trying to just get promoted without, you don't even know why half the time?
Oh, definitely. What actually funny story on that. So when I went from part-time to full-time, I was called. I was on vacation. They were like, hey, you have like 30 minutes to tell me the answer to this. Do you want to go from part-time to full-time? I was like, yeah, that's a promotion. That's more money, right? I went from full-time to assistant manager by choice. I chose to promote. But the next promotion that happened was forced. I literally had no say in the matter. I didn't apply, didn't even know the position was coming open. I got a phone call the night before and was told, "You're now the store manager of this store, way out in the sticks. It's a 40-minute drive. Be there tomorrow at 8." Right? But that for me was like, okay, I respect the responsibility. I know for a fact you've given me this honor of leading, right? That's how I felt. I could not explain it. I was like, yeah, that's the next logical step. I have to do that. I was making ridiculously good money as a assistant manager. I was making even better money, funny enough, as an individual contributor, excuse me. But for some reason, that drive to just go to the next level is there. It is really weird. And it's one of those things, even I'm still like, I'm trying to shake it now. I'm coming up on my year and I'm like, yeah, I can't be in one role for a year. I got to move up. Otherwise, what do I have to show for it? But there's so much learning that happens in between. I'm really learning now. Just simmer down, stay somewhere and become an expert at that thing, and then move when you are ready, not when you feel like you have to go.
So I get a lot of vets that reach out to me about, hey, I saw you're in tech sales. Can I get into tech sales? Or hey, when I was at Banner, hey, I saw you're selling manufacturing. How do I get into that? And then the first thing I notice is like they don't have like a profile picture. And then I look at their LinkedIn and it's like it's just garbage, right? And it's not their fault. And then I'm like, hey, you got to fix this, man. And they always push back to be like, I don't do this social media thing, right? So like, can you kind of explain like why is it important to like embrace like stuff like LinkedIn and stuff when you're transitioning?
Oh, for sure. Social media, especially LinkedIn, when it comes to a job hunt, you can't really do without it. It is not just your virtual resume. It's now a way for employers to get a scope. They can kind of see a little peek into who you are, who you might be, and what you might bring. I know so many veterans with absolutely crazy brag sheets, right? And that's what we call them, in the Navy. This is the list of all the accomplishments they have to justify the reason they should get their next promotion. Ridiculous. Like 700 hours of volunteering. I got shot. I lived. I saved 30 people. Awesome, right? We don't want to do that on the civilian side for whatever reason. I certainly can't explain it, but man, if we brought that mentality of bring your brag sheet,
this thing right here,
exactly.
Like every vet has like this thing, right? With like all this stuff.
Mine's in my closet right now.
I've never showed it to anybody in the civilian world.
Yeah.
Like all this stuff. Like so
if you don't have that, like what are you doing, right? And it blows my mind how we don't take that same concept and put it into LinkedIn. Folks, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a brag sheet, if you've done anything you're proud of, if you've done anything you want someone to be able to say, oh, this might be a great candidate. They've done something. They have accomplishments. They have represented themselves well. Put it on your LinkedIn. Make sure it's obvious. Show off who you are because, frankly, you're not going to get a job in this climate, especially by being bland, by being dull, by not representing yourself. There are thousands of hungry candidates applying for jobs daily, getting rejected. We need to do everything we can to put ourselves in the best foot forward and ourselves in the best light we can when we have control over the situation. So if you're a veteran and you don't have your LinkedIn profile, up to date, get with somebody, DM me. I don't care. We will do everything we can. I want you to have a profile you can be proud of.
And that's actually like I'm gonna do a shameless pitch, but that's what we're gonna do at Shift Group. We're gonna get them in there. We're gonna get their LinkedIn profile updated. We're gonna teach them all the terms like SDR, all this stuff that they don't know what they're talking about. And then
I'm excited for that.
Ready for the interview. I'll be honest with you. So like my first job was very hard my first like the break into tech was very hard, which is crazy. Yeah. Like I'm like a very high performing individual. I got my master's degree. I was a Green Beret. I do hard tasks in my spare time, like I used to run ultramarathon, all this stuff. So I was just like, I'll get a job, man. This is like a $50,000 a year. Like I make more in retirement than that. Right. So, and I couldn't get in because like you're too old, you
Yeah.
don't have you haven't sold anything, you're
Yeah.
not like you don't look like the person that we're trying to whatever
Right.
they
Right.
didn't want me for, right? So but my last three jobs, um I got headhunted from my
Yeah.
LinkedIn content, and I've
Yeah.
never showed anybody a resume ever again.
Yeah.
Never
That's the way.
when I went to Seamless, that was some recruiter saw me post about. I was just kind of showing my journey on
Yeah.
not being a military guy doesn't know what he's doing as an SDR. Hey, you should come over here. So I went over there, and then I got called there.
Yeah.
It's like every 2 months I was getting like a 20 grand raise. They're like this robotics company called me like, hey, come over here. No
Right.
resume. Right? And then like Ban Air called me. It was an SF colonel. Was like, man, there's not a lot of SF dudes that sell stuff. Come over
Right.
here. Then
That's
he
amazing.
hires me over there. And then JR's like, hey, I need a really squared away, like good communicator to help me stand up this program. Come over
Yeah.
here. Right. So like I haven't filled out an application. I don't even know
Yeah.
where my resume is at, to be honest with you. Like I think it's deleted. It's like on
Yeah.
Gmail somewhere, right? So like it's very important to if you really want to get in this space because that's how you're gonna sell. Like you
Yeah.
can't sell anymore. Dude, if you try to sell me something and I go look at I'm gonna go first thing I'm gonna do is go to LinkedIn and try to
I'm
figure out
looking
if
up.
more, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. It's like super important. We're
I think
coming
even to that point,
sorry.
just even to that point, I have been headhunted. I have people currently like offering me, hey, can I make an intro for you? Hey, this person's looking for someone. Hey, blah, 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 blah. So not only is the LinkedIn profile huge, but we can get away from the profile for a second. The networking. The
Yeah.
networking. I can't tell you how many times, and Sean, I'm sure you can attest to this too. I've been to a duty station where I say someone's name once and they're like, oh, I served with that guy over here, right? As soon as you say someone's name and their ears perk up, they got the happy ears, like you're a connection of a connection I have. They immediately want to bring you in. They immediately embrace you, right? With the LinkedIn presence, your profile certainly matters, but like engaging, having a network and utilizing it. Make connections and actually make them meaningful. This isn't just I have a person I can add as a number and that's it. Like I actually talk to almost all of the people who follow me, who are connected to me. I try to make sure I'm building meaningful relationships because just like you said, I don't want to have my next job require a resume. I want the next job to come to me, you know? And I wish more people were doing that. I wish more people were really utilizing the resources we have at hand.
Yeah, I mean it's good. And look, Kevin backed this up. LinkedIn profiles are important for B2B sales. It is like I
Yeah.
said, if you try to sell me something, the first thing I'm gonna do is like boom, like
Yeah.
who is this?
Spot on, Kevin.
But hey, so how long you been following me for?
God, probably like what, 5-6 months now?
Okay, so sometimes like I post about some like hot topics, hot takes that like,
Oh
and I
yeah.
do that. I did a post about it. I do it on purpose because I try to weed out people in my network that aren't about discussion,
Yeah.
you know, that are like fake, all this type of
Yeah.
stuff. And I think there's a notion from vets that a lot of people on these social media networks are just all fake, and
Yeah.
that's the reason they're scared to get on here. Is they're like
Mhm.
actually scared to like offend people, get
Oh yeah.
canceled, maybe not get a job because of like some post they made. Does that make sense? And I
Oh
know
yeah.
you're real big in the social space. You have I think your background, what's it say, like amplifying voices, and I see you on a lot of these social pages and stuff, doing a lot of
Yeah.
comments. Like, what like advice do you have to vets that are like kind of scared to get on social media because they feel like they can't be themselves?
I'm gonna say not everybody is for everybody, right? You're not gonna be loved by everyone. You already know that. Embrace it. Tell your story regardless. If you disagree with someone, Disagree respectfully, of course. Always with respect. We don't have to come and really try to, denigrate a person, but disagree and move on. If that person's for you, they're for you. And if they're not, they're not. But you will find your tribe when you tell your version of the truth. When you try to water it down, when you try to give this fake message, when you try to do anything that essentially wavers from your version of the truth, you're already in the wrong spot. So be authentic, right? People are attracted to the real thing. I can always tell on my own LinkedIn when someone's just regurgitating, or it's like the Chat GPT thing, which don't get me started on that, John. Not today, but I can always tell when someone's doing it for the likes. I'm not doing this for the likes. I don't say anything for the likes. I say it because I hope that someone really resounds with this message. Be authentic. Be you. You cannot be anyone else. So don't try.
So here's kind of my advice too, and I agree with you 100%, like spot on. That's how I feel. Like if you put up a mask and you fake who you are to get a job at a company, they hired you because they thought you were one person, and most likely you're not going to get along with anybody there. If you had to like fake, like, I personally don't want to work at a place that just constantly talks about work-life balance and mental health. Like I think mental health is important. I have a lot of mental health issues that I had to work after the military, but I want to work for a place that's like, hey, let's all work as hard as possible, especially like as a team.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like burn yourself out or be crazy about it, but like I don't want to work for a place where like everybody's trying to find a reason essentially not to work. And so if you just lie and be like in an interview and you're like, why do you want to work here? Oh, I want to be part of the culture and I want to do work-life balance.
Yeah.
And I really love that you guys have all these days off and stuff. It's like, you're not going to fit in there. They're going to expose you because like, you didn't really represent yourself during the interview because you felt like you had to act this way. And I see a lot of vets that get out and do that. I'm like, I knew that guy. He's acting like this on social media, like, and it's acting because I think that's just what they think they have to do. Yeah, like
don't blend in. Yeah, like don't try to be the camo that you used to wear. You don't have to hide anymore. You don't have to hide in plain sight. If you're wearing a mask, every day at work, and then you come home and you feel relief because you're done with work, you're probably not in the environment you really should be in. If you come home physically exhausted from participating in a charade, from participating in an act all day, you probably need to reevaluate. What did you do to get there, and why are you staying? Because there is no reason you should compromise who you are, ever. Never compromise on who you are to fit in somewhere that you may not fit. It's okay. There is a place for you. Not everything is for everyone. I cannot stress that enough.
Yep, that's good advice. So we're at 34 minutes. I got a schedule for 45, but we'll cut a little short. But here's the most important question of the night. What would you tell, like if a vet came up to you or hit you up in your direct messages and said, hey, I saw you're in sales. Like, I'm really thinking about getting in sales.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, why should I be in sales? And, why are you in sales? I know you kind of loosely said that in the beginning in your intro, but like just lay it out for us.
Yeah. So if someone came to me and said, I'm thinking about getting into sales, talk me in or talk me out, I would say, do you enjoy finding new ways to be better? Do you enjoy solving problems? Do you enjoy not knowing that something's a problem until it hits you, right? If the answer to those things is yes, sales might be for you. If you like the idea of constantly refining who you are, because there is no such thing as perfection in sales. Even the best seller is still losing more deals than they're winning.
And plus the
Right?
environment's always changing too.
Always. The
Yeah.
messaging changes, marketing changes, heck, the market itself changes, right? At
Yeah.
no point in time are you ever going to find or write one perfect email, make one perfect call, have one perfect sales year. It's not going to happen. So the sooner you embrace that idea and say, I'm okay with that, and I actually want to do that, I'm willing to go out here and literally just get beat up all day in hopes that I get a yes, you might be for sales. If you're not of the mind where you can handle being rejected, if you're one of those people who's going to take it personal, I would reconsider. This is not to say you can't learn. This is not to say you can't become a seller. But if you know for a fact that whenever someone says no, that hurts you like to your core, you're going to have a hard time in sales for a long time. You got to be able to get rid of the ego and know, I'm doing this because I want to help. This person might not need my help. Move on. If you can't move on, if you're too attached to the outcome, stay away.
Yeah, it's that like you got to get rid of that mindset that like you can't lose. Like you got to win. You got to accomplish every mission. You can't look at like a prospect or somebody that you're selling to as a mission. The mission is like to create revenue. At a higher level, so you can like feed yourself and provide a roof over your head. But like that's done. That's like it's a bigger task than just that individual sale that you're in.
Sure.
Last question. So I need you to do me a favor, right? And this is hypothetical, but I'm like, hey, I need you to go to this like unicorn tech company and tell them why they should hire someone that was like in the Navy that did 8 years and is in their 30s over somebody that's like 22 and just graduated from college.
Oh yeah, this one's easy. If you are considering hiring and you're weighing your options between a vet, young grad, just someone else in general, a veteran brings a caliber of dedication, discipline, motivation, and the willingness to complete the mission no matter what that you will not be able to replicate anywhere else. Veterans are uniquely qualified to handle things that most other people are going to see as daunting tasks. We are already equipped to deal with it. We know how to just put the head down, keep moving forward. I've been on ruck marches, pack on the back, absolutely dying in my head, but I'm like, if I stop moving, this is going to go bad. 1 foot, 1 foot ahead of the next, right? Anytime you're talking to a veteran, you are always getting truly the best quality of person when it comes to getting it done. We don't quit. We do not quit.
Yep. So that's going to be on my training. That was really good. But no, you're right. You hit it right on the head. It's just I think the big ones are like mission focus, team player, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get the job done.
For sure.
I see it's Trenton's on here. Spillman. Here, I'll bring up his thing right here. So Trenton, I actually was like, I worked with him as an SDR, and he's like, he's a really good personality. Like, I'm really like hard charging and like mission focused and hardcore, and he's like super laid back. And the reason I bring him up is like he's a person that I kind of like to hang out with because like he was like the yin to my yang, and he like chilled me out. So like I'd recommend the vets that are kind of wired like me to find a Trenton where you work, and just like me and him would just like laugh. I mean, we just have some pretty funny conversations. But thanks Trenton for your comment. We got, let's see, let's just go do make sure everybody gets their you create here. Let me see. I don't know. I think this is Henry.
Yeah.
It doesn't show it for some reason. What do you think about Henry's comment?
I mean, I think he's spot on. When you have an environment that actually cares about the people who participate in it, mental health is already going to be covered. Work-life balance is covered. It's taken care of. So yeah, he's got a spot. He or she has it spot on.
Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, thanks for joining this discussion. Again, this is sponsored by my new employer Shift Group.
Yeah.
What they did is task me out to help them build a program where we bring in vets. We give them some basic sales training and help them with their LinkedIn networking, interviewing, just kind of presenting themselves. And my CEO JR has went out and found hiring partners, and me and him have come up with some talking points and some scenarios where these partners are pretty excited to bring on vets, right? For the reasons that we discussed in this episode. I really appreciate you coming by. Like, you're one of my favorite follows because we don't always agree on everything, but you're authentic, and that's who I'm attracted to. And my network is people that aren't afraid to speak their mind. And if we disagree, we just say we disagree. So I really appreciate it about you. If you guys don't follow Anna, follow her. She's pretty animated. I think I saw that post yesterday about the guy with the crazy email.
Don't get me started.
The guy with the crazy email. It's like a sequence. They said he is going to beat you up, knock you out.
Yeah.
And
it was mind-blowing.
What a bad email. I
just don't know how someone could compose that and then be like, yeah, this is good, and then to hit send. Like, wow, it blew my mind.
Yeah, I think some of the people in there that were saying like, hey, don't put the guy on blast and stuff. I think I think it's probably a good point. Like, in general, you don't want to do that, but that was just it was so stupid. Like, you would get fired in any job you're in if you. I think he was a solo entrepreneur. But you're instant fired and so hey, don't be sending emails sequences that threaten people as a joke to get them to open your email. It's just
please don't. Please do not. And then don't make a video after to say it's a joke, because then it looks even worse. Just don't do it in the beginning, please.
Well, hey, thanks for coming by, everybody. Thanks for showing up today. Hey, I think this will be, you can watch it afterwards, or you can send it to the link to your friends if they didn't get to catch it. But I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for showing up. Thanks, Bryanna.
Yeah, no problem, Sean.